Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to Walking Through the Scriptures with Joseph Bahota. I'm your host, Joe Bahota, and I got another different one for you today. I'm doing another movie review, and I've done about 3 or 4 of them in the past, so I got another one. And that is I'm reviewing the movie, the new movie, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It just came out on Friday, May 10th, and me and my wife went to see it on Friday, and I'm here to tell you, don't believe the hype. This movie kind of sucked. It really, really did. I'm just going to give you my grade. I give it a C minus. The movie didn't work for me on so many different levels. First of all, I'm a huge sci-fi guy. I'm like a sci-fi nerd. And I love the Planet of the Apes movies, even all the way back to the old ones in the 70s with the first Planet of the Apes series with Charlton Heston and all that. I've seen them all. I've seen all 5 of the originals. I've seen the Marky Mark one, Mark Wahlberg. I didn't like that one though. And then the new one, the new series that they just came out, and this is a continuation. This is the 4th movie of that series. And I love the first 3. This one I did not love at all. This movie took a completely different direction. So by the way, spoilers, if you don't want spoilers, please click off now, because I'm basically going to tell you what happens and because why I think it wasn't very good. With that being said, let me start off with the good. And then I'll gradually get into, just as the movie went on, it just got worse and worse and worse as it went on. What's good about this movie, the visuals were absolutely stunning. I will give it that. And the audio was absolutely stunning. When the apes talked, their voices were magnificent. And the visuals were just amazing. When you look at the apes, you can see almost every single piece of like fur coming off them. They look like talking apes. I mean, they really looked like amazing, amazing creatures. The scenery, different parts of the earth that the main character Noah has to traverse throughout the movie. I mean, just magnificent colors. I mean, when they go through the woods and the forest, the shades of green and all that. It's just lush stuff. So the visuals in this movie are absolutely amazing. So the CGI is extremely well done. So the visuals is very good. The visuals basically, and it's come some of the Easter eggs too, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. Some of the Easter eggs that goes back to the original movies. So the visuals and the Easter eggs is why I don't give it an F. Okay, I'll give it a C minus for those 2 things. However, everything else doesn't work for me. The beginning does work for me, though. If you remember the last movie, the 3rd movie, War of the Planet of the Apes, basically Caesar dies, or Caesar's going to die, because remember when he helped his fellow ape clan get away from that prison led by Woody Harrelson? He gets shot or whatever. So, but he gets his ape clan out. And also, too, remember at the end of that movie, there's a virus going throughout the world, and it's making a lot of humans basically not giving them the ability to talk. And also makes them very dumb and stupid. But not all the humans are getting the virus. Only some are getting the virus. That's how the 3rd movie ends. Well, this movie picks up exactly where that movie ends. Caesar does die. And they basically, put a whole big bonfire together. And basically they put him on the bonfire and they basically burn his ashes. That's how the beginning of the movie starts. Now that's very sad because remember, Caesar is the main character in the first 3 movies. But remember, in movie 3, he did get shot, so he was going to die, or he was dying. So it's sad, but it works for me because it blatantly, picks up where the last movie went off. So he dies, they burn his body, and that's that. But then it says something to the effect, but many generations passed after that. So they zoom into the future, 200, 300, 400 years. It doesn't say how many years. So again, they leave this up to the imagination. So you don't know how many hundreds of years or whatever in the future. But a huge amount of time passed. Well, that doesn't work for me because basically they're starting a brand new story. Because Caesar dies, and since it's 200, 300 years in the future, all those other apes that we saw and fell in love with, and all the characters, all the apes in the other ape movies, they're all dead now. Right? So you have a brand new host of apes, and therefore it's a brand new storyline, essentially. And so consequently, the creators of this movie went in a complete and total different direction. And I can honestly say the direction did not work for me. This story is weird. And there's so many holes in the plot. There's so many holes in the script that the story is just dumb. And it really does not work for me at all. And the new direction doesn't work for me at all. It basically starts with this main character, Noah. He's one of the apes in his clan. And somehow they've learned to tame golden eagles. So they're the Golden Eagle clan. You know, they go and basically they climb these cliffs and they find the golden eagle nest and they steal the eggs and they take them back to their village and they basically, somehow incubate the eggs and they basically raise eagles from birth and they learn to train them so they fly in their arm and all this. They become the golden eagle trainers. And that's what they do. In the midst of all this, there's like a train tunnel, right? And this is one part of the movie that did work for me. This is one of the Easter eggs. There's like a train tunnel, and Noah's father says, "Hey, do not go into that tunnel. Do not go to the other side of it. But that's like a forbidden place. Do not go over there." That worked for me because that's kind of paying homage to the original movie. Remember in the original movie with Charlton Heston, when they went out into the desert, they weren't allowed to go out into the desert because it was called the Forbidden Zone. Well, that's kind of what this is. So you see the big train tunnel, but you're not allowed to enter the train tunnel, and therefore you don't know what's on the other side of the tunnel, because the apes were forbidden to go there, i.e., kind of like the Forbidden Zone of the very first movie. So that was kind of paying homage to the first movies. That worked for me. So they weren't allowed to go into the train tunnel. But anyway, as they're getting these eggs, this human starts following them, which is the female lead of the movie. Anyway, to make a long story short, they're good apes, like Noah and his family. I'll call them the good apes. They're good, good apes. They're not trying to kidnap or kill anybody, so they're the good apes. And then all of a sudden, many things happen. But to make a long story short, Noah, one of his eggs got crushed. So now because the female lead, is following him, basically they get into a fight into his house and he crushes it. So he's like, "Hey, I got to go back to the nest and get another egg." While he's doing that, all of a sudden in the middle of the night, these bad apes, and their main leader's called Proximus Caesar. They're bad apes because they kill people, they kidnap people, all this kind of stuff, and they just come out of nowhere. And make a long story short, they go to Noah's village and they kill his dad, and they kill a lot of apes, but they kidnap his mother, they kidnap his friends, and they take them back to their bad ape village. And in doing so, they go into the train tunnel, and therefore they got to go to the other side. Well, Noah's able to escape this massacre, even though he fights Proximus with his dad. He fights Proximus Caesar. Make a long story short, though, Proximus Caesar kills his dad, but he lives, and he lives through the massacre. And he wakes up and he buries his father, and and then he says, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to go and I'm going to find basically the rest of the clan, and therefore find his mom, find his friends. I'm going to find the rest of the clan, and I'm going to bring them home." Which means he has to go through the tunnel. Now, this is what works for me because, again, as he's going through the tunnel, and once he gets onto the other side of the tunnel, it's like a whole brand new world enters up to him, because, again, he's never seen this before because it was forbidden before this. So as he's going through these different parts of the earth, again, the visuals are very, very awesome. While he's traveling, he meets this orange orangutan ape called Roka, or Roku, I can't remember, something like that. Roko, something like that. And his character works for me because he was trained in the old way of Caesar. So he knows how to read, and, he has all the books of Caesar, ape shall not kill ape, and together apes strong, and all that. So he's kind of a teacher of the old way, if you will. Now here's the thing, this works for me because this pays homage to the older movies. So Roka is one of the dudes I like. He's one of the apes that I actually like. The problem with, to make a long story short, in the midst of them now trying to find Noah's clan, Proximus Caesar and the bad apes basically track them down, and make a long story short, and there's like a little battle on a river, and they try to kill the female lead, the girl, because at the same time this girl now was following them, And they don't explain why she's following them until the very end. And by the way, this movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and nothing really gets explained until like the last 5 minutes of the movie, which means you got 2 hours and 15 minutes of just worthless dribble. But anyway, make a long story short, Roka dies because they're in the river and he's trying to rescue the female girl who's named May. And he tries to rescue her. He does rescue her, but make a long story short, Proximus Max cuts the net, he falls into the river, and he dies. So the one ape that I did like, he dies, like halfway through the movie. Anyway, just before that too, there's another weird scene where they find some human, non-talking humans. And Proximus Max and his crew, they kidnap these humans who are dumb and can't talk. And they just like the first movie, this is another Easter egg to the first movie, they round them in some horses with some nets, they throw the nets on them, and they drag them, they kidnap them back, and they take them back to the bad ape village. The problem is you never see those non-talking dumb humans again. So you're wondering what the heck ever happened to them, because they get kidnapped. Proximus Max Proximus Caesar takes them back to his village, but what happened to them? Because the movie never shows it. So anyway, to make a long story short, they get back to Proximus Caesar's village, and sure enough, Noah finds his clan there and all that. and when they get there, Proximus Caesar is trying to open this bunker that humans 200 or 300 years ago built. But there's a big door to the bunker and they can't get in. So he's trying to blow it up and all that. Make a long story short, he cannot get in. But May does know how to get in. By this time, May reveals that she can talk. So she's not dumb and she can talk. So the virus did not affect her. And so May is like, hey, I know how to get in. So basically what they do is they go around this cliff. And they climb to the very, very top of the cliff, which is, 300 or 500 feet tall, whatever it is. They climb to the top of the cliff, and on top of the cliff, there's like a big fan that's open where they can go inside the fan, because by this time the fan doesn't run anymore. And they're able to walk in, and through that, they're able to scurry down inside the vault. And when you get inside the vault, there's old army tanks, and there's old Humvees, and there's weapons in there like guns and all that. But there's no humans in there anymore. So the humans who built this thing 300 or 400 years ago are no longer there. And you don't even know why that they abandoned it. So they built this vault for apparently no reason. And for some reason, they abandoned it. And the movie doesn't explain why they did that. So anyway, to make a long story short, when they get into the vault, there's a computer chip inside the control panel. And May needs this control chip because, as it turns out, here's the big twist, the spoiler alert, she's not the only human in the world that can still talk and is still smart. Come to find out, there's other humans throughout the world that can still speak, and they're still very, very smart, so therefore they still have all the technology, they still have all their weapons, they still have all their Humvees and tanks. And what it is they have these 3 or 4 huge satellites that don't work though. And these satellites, they can ping off the satellite, or not satellites, basically, dish antennas, that they're huge. And what they do is they ping the satellites in space, and through that they're able to communicate with other humans. But the problem is these huge satellite dishes don't work. So they need that computer chip inside the vault. They need that so they can take it back to where they are, which is 300 or 400 miles away, by the way, from this vault. This is in another place of the earth, far, far away from where this vault actually is. Maybe 200 or 300 miles, who knows? Because the movie never explains that either. So to make a long story short, May gets the chip, and she eventually takes it back to where the other humans are, and voila, they're able to work the satellites and work the dishes, and now they're able to communicate. And sure enough, they start communicating, hey, is anybody there? Hey, is anybody there? And sure enough, somebody answers. There's some other humans in the world, and they answer them. And oh, by the way, through that whole thing, there's a big flood that, they blow up a bridge, and the ocean, because the village that the bad guys are on the ocean. So May and Noah, they blow up the bridge, which allows all the ocean to come in. And when it does, by this time the vault doors are open. So now all the water flushes through the vault. It floods out the vault. And make a long story short, the birds come, because again, remember the Golden Eagles, that's the clan that they're from. The Golden Eagles, basically, they get a hold of Maximus Caesar. They grab him, they basically throw him off the cliff, so Maximus Caesar dies. So the bad guys die in the flood and through the birds throwing their leader off the cliff. And that's essentially the end of the movie. Now there's another scene at the end where there's a huge old abandoned telescope where they look into the telescope and they look into space. And Noah and the girl May see something, but the movie never explains what they actually see. So we, the audience, are like, what did you see when you looked through the scope? We don't know because the movie never explains it. Okay. That's essentially the movie. Now, the reason why this movie didn't work for me. Number one, this movie is like 98% nothing but apes. There's hardly any humans at all in this movie, which doesn't work. So the whole human ape dynamic is completely divorced in this movie. One of the things that made the first three movies in this series so great was how the humans and apes worked together or fought against each other. You know, there was like a war or even working together of this humans and ape dynamic. Again, this movie is a completely different story. It's like they started the series all over again. Once Caesar dies and they fast forward 300 or 400 years in the future, it's like they start a completely whole brand new movie. And therefore, they have a whole completely brand new story. And in doing so, they lose the human-ape dynamic, which made the first three movies so great. The second thing that doesn't work is there's zero character development in any of these characters, whether it's Noah, the new ape, or May, the female lead. And again, the female lead doesn't work because she really serves no purpose until the very end. And it turns out she's a liar and a traitor. She basically just used Noah and the clan to help her get to that microchip inside the vault so she could take it back to her human friends. Okay? Which you're kind of wondering, did they send May out to be like on a recon mission to get this? You know, she was a part of the original, talking people, but they sent her out to get this microchip. And she just used Noah and her clan to get it. But that doesn't make any sense either, though, because, okay, you have these satellite dishes that don't work. Why would you make them without the microchip in the first place? And why is that microchip in a vault 300 or 400 miles away that you have to send somebody to go get it? Why is this chip not in the same place where the satellite dishes are? Why do you have to go get the chip that's 300 miles away? We have no idea. Okay, we have no idea. Also, in the vault itself, if you're a human, why would you build a vault with like army tanks and Humvees and weapons and guns and all that inside the vault and then mysteriously just abandon it for no reason? Why build a vault, put all that stuff in it with the microchip, and then just abandon the whole thing? We have no idea. We have no idea. Also, again, it's a brand new story. Now, therefore, it's brand new apes, but there's no backstory to these apes. Like you have the good apes and the bad apes. Well, why are the bad apes bad? Because if you remember, in the original three movies, you had, Caesar, which was the good apes, if you will. But then you had Kobu, who was his friend, but then his friend betrayed him. And Kobu basically had a ape army that basically fought against the humans. Kobu he turned bad and he killed another ape. And then, so you basically had a warring of the two different clans of apes. You had the Caesar apes and you had the Kobu apes. Well, Proximus Caesar, does he come from the Kobo clan? Is he like a descendant or a descendant of the Kobo army? I.e., why do you have good apes and bad apes? We don't know. We have no idea why there's good and bad. We as the audience just have to just take it for face value and say, yeah, there's good apes and bad apes, even though we have no idea why. And also, too, like I said, the non-talking humans that are dumb, they get kidnapped and taken back to the, Proximus Caesar's village, but then it never shows them again. So you don't even know what happened to them. So they got kidnapped, but after they got kidnapped, what happened? We have no idea. How did Noah's family become the Golden Eagle tribe? We have no idea. There's these apes and humans and people and bad apes just planted on the earth with no backstory as to how and why they got there. Again, why did they build the vault? Why did they abandon it? Why was that microchip 300 miles away from where the satellites were? I have no idea. Also, too, Why do you need a satellite to communicate? I mean, did the apes, did they get rid of the Wi-Fi and internet and everything else out there? I mean, how do you go from modern day Earth to 300 years from now to where now you can't communicate? Now you have to put a satellite in space in order for people to talk to each other. I mean, what happened to the internet? What happened to cell phones? What happened to Wi-Fi? What happened to all these technologies that we have today? Because again, there's still talking humans that are smart on the Earth. So why can't they use cell phones to talk to each other? Why can't we still use the internet? I don't know. It doesn't explain any of this. We just have to sit there and act like we're stupid, like we don't understand this. This is dumb. This is really, really dumb. And again, the one ape that you did like, Roka, the guy who was, he kept the old traditions alive, he dies halfway in the movie. And also, too, by the way, even though Noah and his friends can speak, and even the bad apes and everybody can speak, that they can't read English. So they can speak it, but they can't read it. Well, why can't they read it? How come they were never taught how to read and write? I mean, obviously they can speak it, but how come they were never taught to read and write? I mean, they're so smart, they can do it. So how come in the 200 or 300 years or 400 years in the future, if you will, how come they didn't keep that tradition alive of knowing how to read? Because when Rocco shows Noah the books, Noah doesn't, and his clan doesn't know how to read the books. Well, how come they were never taught to read if they're so smart? I don't know. Again, these are questions that the movie never answers. So again, this movie is all over the place. And there's so many holes in the script and in the plot that the movie just doesn't answer. And then, the bad guy dies and May turns the computer chip thing back to her speaking, talking, smart friends. And they get the satellites working and they ping off, I guess, the satellites in space. And they're like, is anybody there? Anybody there? And they're like, yeah, hey, we're waiting for this call. We hear you. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. And then there's a big scene where May now reunites with Noah. But by this time, you really don't like May because May just basically is a liar and betrayer. And she just used Noah to help get the chip. And Noah's like, even though Proximus Caesar was a scumbag, he was right because apes and humans really won't live together, will they? And May was like, basically, no, they won't because this was our Earth before you, and basically we're not giving it back to you. So this was our planet before yours. So yeah, we're not going to be able to live together. So May's kind of a scumbag. I mean, so the whole lead female character is not a good person. And then Noah takes like his girlfriend or whatever to the big telescope, and they look through the big telescope again and again. They see the same thing in space, but we don't know what it is. And that's the end of the movie. So when you come out of the theater, you're going to be like, what? What in the world did I just see? I'm not going to lie. When I came out of the movie, I felt very sad. I felt very disappointed. I felt like scummy. I felt like, ugh. Like, what in the heck did I just watch? And obviously not in a good way. I mean, I really felt scummy. I was like, what did I just see? What did I just watch? Because it just made no sense. It made no sense whatsoever. This is not a good movie, guys. Again, the new director in this movie went into a completely new direction. And this movie, the new direction sucked. It really was not good at all. I give this movie a C- only because of the audio and the visual. And some Easter eggs, and there's some other Easter eggs in the movie too, which I didn't say. But because of the Easter eggs, other than that, this movie's a C-. This movie is not good. Do not believe the hype. This movie is bad. It's really, really, really bad. Which is sad because if they do make a fifth movie, they're really going to have to make it good because this movie was so bad. They're going to have to really fix a lot of things in the next movie in order for me to really like it because this movie was terrible. So anyway, guys, C-. This movie's not good. If you're a fan of the Planet of the Apes movies, if you're a fan of this recent Planet of the Apes series, you're probably going to feel very, very disappointed. This movie was not good. It was bad. C-, y'all. Anyway, if you like this, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the this is the subscribe button. Till next time, know that Jesus loves United too. God bless everybody.